All right, the big viral debate of the moment on social media, women answering the question, would you rather be trapped in the forest with a bear or with a man?
Stuck in a forest with a man or bear?
Bear. Maybe a bear. Depends what man, but probably a bear. With a bear.
And men of the internet are none too happy with how many girls are answering a bear. Now, women are thinking along the lines of, hey, bears live in the forest. This is simply me just coming into the bear's environment. If I don't fuck with him, he's not gonna fuck with me. Maybe we can peacefully coexist. Whereas if I am trapped in the woods alone with a man, he is definitely gonna try to kill me or do something terrible to me because there is nobody else there to watch him and keep him in check. Now, maybe that sounds extreme because there's a lot of guys out there who wouldn't do that. They would meet you in the forest and they would be like, how the fuck do we get out of this forest? It would be like Naked and Afraid. You ever see that show? It'd be like, do you know how to make a fire? Can you make a shelter? I'm useless. Let's try to get a fucking Bear Grylls our way out of this bitch. But there's also a lot of people out there who would definitely probably try to murder those women. You know why? Because this happens all the time. Maybe they're not trapped in a forest, but they're trapped in a parking garage. Or they're trapped in a dark alley or a street alone at night. Or basically just the world. Women are just trapped in the world and are pretty often getting murdered by men, whereas they're not getting murdered often by bears. Now, of course, we can talk about sample size. The amount of times that you interact with a bear, far less the amount of times you're interacting with human men. But the raw numbers never lie. Women have not been murdered very often by bears. They have been murdered very often by men. Therefore, I'll select the bear. Now, that's not the full story, because of course there are men out there who wouldn't do anything. Now, also, in my thought process, a bear would most likely give you a swift and clean death. We're talking paw to the face, bite your head off, and you are donezo. Whereas on the other side of things, you might run into one of those weird fucking dudes. So in my mathematics here, in both scenarios, you're likely to get murdered. Only in one of those scenarios are you likely to also get raped. Unless things go really left with the bear and he rapes you too, in which case you have really stumbled into the wrong forest. Like you really took a wrong left and ended up in the worst forest ever with raping bears. But on the third hand, you gotta ask the question, as always, how hot is the dude? It's like Tom Brady said on SNL all those years ago. It all depends on how hot you are. Because if you're a fat, creepy, weird guy stuck in the forest, yeah, I'll take my chances with a bear. If you are a hot-ass lumberjack, then all of a sudden, these women are now a part of every romance novel ever written. Now all of a sudden, you're living out a fantasy. You're fucking Snow White in the forest with Prince Charming. You're alone. You got the privacy. You're in nature. You're underneath the stars. You got this hot-ass dude. You're banging on the dirt. Then all of a sudden, it's like, give me the dudes. Forget the bears. What I think is patently ridiculous is the fact that this is even a debate. The fact that we're even in a fun way discussing, would you rather be trapped with a 7-foot-tall, 500-pound animal with 2-foot paws and 6-inch claws and a mandible that could bite your head off in one shot, or a fellow human who's relatively the same size, just a little bit bigger and of a different sex, because that is all the difference in the world right there. Now, the real question is, gender is obviously, as we know, a floating spectrum. So what if this man that you get stuck with actually happens to be a rather petite lady who just happens to identify as that? Then in that case, well, now you've struck the jackpot, because now you just get to hang out in the forest with someone who's basically a chick, now didn't you? You didn't think through that one, did you? You didn't think about all the bears that are maybe transitioning, did you? Now, of course, there's really no flip side to this for the men. You can't be like, would you rather get trapped in the forest with a bear or a chick? Because it's going to be like, well, I can't have sex with that bear, but I am going to make that chick have sex with me. Am I right? You know? Okay, we took it too far. But maybe the discussion really is, would you rather be trapped by a bear in the forest or trapped by a woman in real life? So, on the one scenario, it's you and let's say a grizzly, where you can't run, you can't hide, you can't make noise, you can't do anything. You got one fight. You're probably dead instantly. I don't know. Maybe you poke him in the eye and you can survive somehow. On the other hand, you get a woman who traps you with a baby for at least the next 18 years. You're paying child support. You're dealing with baby mama drama. You're fighting every time there's a birthday or a party. It's 18 years of mental and emotional hell versus potentially, probably one final battle and then you're dead. That's the real question. Trapped by a bear, trapped by a woman.